I think Christians should consider leading the way in blind applicant reviews.
Yes.
I think that when we look at the Lord's qualifications, if that's going to try to inform us in our hiring, we want to look at character traits. We want to look at skills. We want to look at hiring the person who's the most qualified for the job. So how do we do that? I think Christians should consider leading the way in blind applicant reviews, where we review applicants without names, because there is some data that says that people that have more ethnic sounding names, non-white sounding names, don't get as many calls for job interviews.
Yeah. And that, I mean, those reports, there have been a couple that have been done.
Yeah.
Couple studies that have been done, but I remember reading about that back in, the early 2000s when I was in school.
So I would say we need to, I think a practice we should think about is blind applicant reviews, where we review applicants by number and with their resume and their qualifications and their references. If we're going to do, because usually when you do it, your first round of screening is just looking at the applications before you call people in for the interviews. And in that initial round, try to figure out as many objective criteria as you can. What I used to do when I would hire is, before I would even do the job posting, figuring out, all right, what are my objective criteria? What am I hiring for? Having it be in front of me. I'm trying to remove my bias as much as possible, because the biblical principle from Deuteronomy is to judge without bias, to judge without partiality. So that's what I want to figure out. How do I overcome my sin nature? How do I overcome my personal bias and introduce more objective criteria? So I think that's a big one.